Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. It is sometimes dangerous to create myths out of regular people because you have the tendency to elevate a human being to a mythological level which could create monsters, tyrants. We humans fall prey often to our own ego, and we just cannot get out of the new level that was ascribed to us by others with intention or without intention of creating, as I said, sometimes tyrants. I think that at this point we see a dangerous an attempt to create out of a president of a country a new, I don't know, a new mythical creature, something that surpasses any other military leader or no, general or leader per se. And I'm talking about the Ukrainian person or the person who's in charge of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky. It is hard to believe that there are people over there who really think that this guy, Zelensky, is really in charge of Ukraine. It's hard to believe that that there are people who might see this guy as I don't know, a savior of a nation. Unless you do not know almost anything about this situation in Ukraine, the Russians, the Americans, the European Union, the Brits, I don't know what kind of information, what kind of source of information or misinformation, disinformation you must have in order to assess this guy as a savior of a nation. I think he could be quite possibly being viewed as the opposite of the savior of the Ukrainian nation. I think he plays a big role in the demise of the Ukrainian nation. I've been reading the articles in Ukrainian media, which obviously is all ecstatic about Zelensky's visit to Washington D.C. I've been reading the American media, which it is unbelievably, I don't know, not ecstatic. Ecstatic is it's below what I would like to express. They use some references to Churchill's visit. They use some reference to mythological individuals, something that we have never seen before. And I could divide this in two parts. One, this is not true. This is a grotesque exaggeration of the qualities of an individual or the things that this individual really accomplished. After all, the fact that the Russians are in Ukraine is partly his fault as well, or how do you want to call it? Maybe don't want to call it fault, but he's responsible for that too. You can say yes, but he's defending the country. You know, the end is going to be probably the end of the country and the end of the nation of Ukraine. And he's going to be just fine, believe me. He's not in the front, you know, right there fighting. He's behind. When there's not going to be no more Ukrainians, he's going to be packing his shed and he's going to go to London. Or maybe, I don't know, Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, or United States of America. One of these places. I don't think he's going to pick Paris, like many others. So, I don't know. That's one when it's a grotesque exaggeration, caricature of this individual, and the other one is the memory I have with Ceausescu. Not only Ceausescu, I saw the same grandiose, terminology used to address Ceausescu or to speak about the dictator Ceausescu. I saw North Korea. I saw China. That it reminds me of those kind of countries. It doesn't remind me of Sweden, or I don't know, Switzerland, or no. It reminds me of these countries: communist Romania, communist North Korea, communist China. Maybe not as it is right now, but just go back 30 years, 40 years, when Ceausescu visited China, or when he went to Korea. What I saw over there and what you can see on YouTube, that's exactly how this is portrayed. This is Zelensky, as if he is the savior of his nation, you know what I mean, Ukrainian nation. I have here two examples of two articles. I'm going to use only the title of the articles. One mentions Churchill, and he says, from Chaplin to Churchill, how Volodymyr Zelensky became savior of Ukraine. Does he look in Ukraine it's like a savior of Ukraine, or is like the person who will destroy Ukraine? How does it look to you? And the other one is this: Zelensky charts improbable extraordinary path. And watch live. Ukrainian President Zelensky addresses Congress during historic trip to Washington. I guarantee you 90% of this planet doesn't even give a fuck about this. Historic, what do you mean? Do you think this is going to be taught in school or something from now on? Is the Magna Carta? Or what is it? The fall of the Berlin Wall? What is it? It's the invention of fire. What the hell is this historic about? This is very dangerous because Zelensky, I think he believes in this. After a while, we tend to say, "Yeah, actually, I'm that good, man. I'm that good." And the other one, the reality doesn't meet or doesn't, require the terms that this guy, historical, Churchill, improbable path, fantastic path. What are you talking about? The fact that Russia and Ukraine are doing what they're doing over there, that's already a failure for Zelensky. It is a failure. And that's not a failure because he chose to do that. It is because we know that he is someone else's guy. So it's just, it's a comedy. It's a sad comedy, it's a tragedy with a comic playing the role of the, I don't know, I don't want to go and use other historical figures, or I don't know, some literature. I'm not going to use Shakespeare or anything to refer to this guy as a tragedy or something, or the Greek tragedy to refer to this. This for me, sometimes, I can see all this adulation of this individual who will drag the Ukrainian nation to extinction. There's no way is no way Ukraine will destroy Russia, as is the intention of the guys in charge, unless, as I said, in one blow, Putin and about 30 other people at least will be cut off overnight, and immediately replaced with the two traitors that would sell off or sell out Russia. That's the only way this Zelensky or this country, the coalition of the West would win. That's the only way. And what is more probable, and I foresee that happen, is Russia will advance and advance and advance and destroy and destroy and destroy and eliminate and eliminate. And that doesn't prove that Zelensky is defending the country. That proves that he's destroying the nation. He's losing the Ukraine as the country. And he's going to be just fine unless a bomb drops on his little cuckoo head. He's going to be fine. I guarantee you, finer than all of us combined in any way, shape or form. And you say, well, he had to defend. No. This should have never happened. And this, I mean Russians stepping across the border. That should have been avoided. And I would like to hear, that's why I know there's no justification to say the Ukrainians and the Americans tried everything. And when I say everything, is not that you allow the Russians to rape you. To avoid this. It's like they played all the wrong moves for the Russians to say, okay man, we're coming over, Red Rover. And that reminds me of, I can't remember who that was, it was Netanyahu, I think he was, or Ariel Sharon of Israel. I think Netanyahu, maybe, I don't know, maybe it was Itzhak Rabin, one of these guys, Prime Minister of Israel. He said about Palestinians, when Yasser Arafat was still alive, he said, the Palestinians never missed an opportunity to miss an opportunity. He said they always missed opportunities. They never missed the opportunity to miss an opportunity. The same here. It seems like these guys, Zelensky and his guys, his sponsors, never missed the opportunity to make the wrong move for their country, but to get those guys in. It's like they made so many mistakes that it's like, I don't know, you invite the rapist to come in your bedroom. I don't know, you advertise in front of the house, you keep the door open, all the lights on, put signs on the wall, here is the woman, I'm not home, she's alone sleeping. And then the rapist go in the bedroom and does what he does best. You know what I mean? In case we're talking about Russia being the rapist, like the bad dude. Like all the moves were, all the barriers, all the things that could have prevented this were lifted like an invitation. That's how and we talk about historic visit of this guy who's he's a corrupt mofo. Ukraine is not the cleanest country. Remember, it was ranked 143 out of 193 in the world as the most corrupt country. I mean, it was one of the most corrupt countries. The first one would be not corrupted. It was 143 or 145 or something. That was at the bottom of how corrupt that country was. And this is our guy. This and his people that he's supposedly in charge of received already $22 billion from Biden, or if you want, 21.9 to be more precise, with the 1.9 that he just received right now, or 1 point something. And that's historic. And we are supposed to applaud it like seals for something that I don't see it. I don't see it that way. I can't see it that way. I think he and these guys are very much responsible. And who's going to hold them accountable for that? I'm not referring to the Russians. Russians are as they are. It's a different conversation. But I think what happens in Ukraine right now, since in February, when the Russians stepped over the border, could and should have been avoided in 2014, 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19. It was 8 years they could have avoided it. They come in front of us and tell us, actually, we used that time to arm Ukraine. Why didn't you just implement what you signed that you will implement? Why did you agree with? It's just you don't understand, Emil. Well, I'm sorry, but scenarios are scenarios, and facts and evidence are facts and evidence. And I can't see this guy as I'm required to see. And I know that this video might be seen by people who are the ones that will see no that he's a hero and all that, and they will say, Emil, you're just a Russian this, you're a Russian that, you're this. I don't give a damn, because in any conversation with any of that kind of person, I have evidence, historical evidence that are there that will prove what I said, prove my point. So if they don't know that, they might learn, and then maybe they can understand better the situation. If they actively decide to ignore that, then it is what it is. I'm just when is this show going to end? I think pretty soon, but we'll see. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.